Hmm. Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to teach you a small topic of your syllabus, that is, what are the different ways that NoSQL handles the big data? What are the different ways using which NoSQL databases they handle the big data issues? Okay, so actually the topic is over. This with this lecture, this NoSQL chapter is over, and from tomorrow I will start with the new topic, that is the new chapter of your syllabus, that is finding similar items. Okay, finding similar items is the topic that is used for recommendation systems. Like whenever we do the recommendations, we need to find out whether the two users are same, or if we want to recommend any product, then we may recommend the product which are similar. So if a person is buying a particular book of a particular author, then we can recommend the another book of the same author. Okay, so so we want to find out how similar two items are, or we want to find out how similar two users are. So if two users are similar, then one user ka activity we see, and according to the activity we may recommend the another user. Okay, so tomorrow's lecture, tomorrow we are starting with the new topic, and today we are going to complete NoSQL databases. So only a small topic is remaining, and I'm taking an extra lecture today. Okay, so we will have the overview of NoSQL databases, and the small topic that is remaining that I'm going to cover is how NoSQL databases handle big data issues or big data. Okay. Have you understood? Today's learning objective is the answer to the question that how NoSQL databases handle big data. Because in the exam, just a minute. Hello. Hello. Actually, your class teacher's phone was there. I think today there are placements, right? So many students are there in the placements today. Um, okay. So, so let's continue. In the exam, they ask one sub question. Okay, there is a question that is asked for 10 marks. In that 10 marks, 5 marks question is there, how NoSQL databases handle big data issue. Okay, so we are going to learn about that today. Okay, are you there? Are you understanding? Please reply me on the chat. Huh. Okay, at least few students are listening, so like it is a motivation for me to talk to you. If you are there, then it is a motivation for me to talk to you. Okay, we have sufficiently taken multiple lectures on NoSQL databases because it is very important topic from my point of view. In the exam, there are only 10 to 15 marks of questions are there. Okay, 10 to 15 marks of questions are there on this particular topic, but we have covered, or we have gone into much depth, because I want you to do your mini projects by using NoSQL databases. Okay, it will be convenient for you to do the project using this NoSQL databases. So that's why I have taken multiple sufficient lectures on NoSQL. Only one small topic is remaining, and today's lecture is the extra lecture. So I'm going to give you the overview of the previous lectures, and the answer to the small question, that is how NoSQL databases handle big data. like how, what are the techniques they are using so that they can handle big data. Okay, that is the question. So we will see the answer to that question, but before that we will have an overview of all the lectures that is taken, because it is an extra lecture and it is a small topic today. And from tomorrow we will start with the new topic, that is finding similar items, so which may not require the lot of background of the previous lectures, so you can even start attending that new chapters with the new like a new subject. Okay, now the remaining chapters are very very interesting chapters, and I want you to attend all the lectures, so it's really fun. If you also contribute, you can unmute and you can talk to me whenever you want. Okay, so what is NoSQL? Okay, the mainly the questions that are asked in the exam are: what is the difference between RDBMS and NoSQL? What are the different architectural patterns? So architectural patterns means the types of NoSQL, and there are four types. That there are four types, that is key value, then document store, then graph store, and the column oriented databases. Key value के लिए we have taken the example of Amazon DynamoDB. For document store we have taken the example of MongoDB, and for column store we have taken the example of HBase, and for graph store we have taken the example of Neo4j. Okay, and always there is question of minimum 10 marks or 15 marks is there in the exam. Okay, now what is been then there can be a question such as what is NoSQL, what are the business drivers? Business drivers means what are the reasons because of which RDBMS is failed, and that made us to invent NoSQL databases. Okay, the first question that I told you is that what is NoSQL, what is the difference between RDBMS and NoSQL. Then the second question is that what are the business drivers of NoSQL? NoSQL means business drivers means what is the need of NoSQL? What are the problems because of which we there was a need and people invented NoSQL databases and they started using NoSQL databases. Okay, that is the third question. And then what are the characteristics of NoSQL databases? Or what is a base property? Or what is a cap theorem? Okay, and for architect, and then the question, today's question is that how NoSQL handles these problems of big data. Okay, and then there is a question, last question is about data architectural patterns. Data architectural patterns means four types of databases. Okay, so I'll just start the presentation. Okay, so these are the university questions. Differentiate between RDBMS and NoSQL, then business drivers, then how big data handles, how NoSQL handles big data problems, then base property. Okay, and then the four types of architectural patterns: key value, document store, column based, and graph store. Okay, so this way, like we know that we know that the RDBMS is a relational database management system. It was invented without thinking about distributed architecture. RDBMS was invented when they thought about a single server. Okay, they thought about single server. Okay. See, you know that nowadays you have always already developed many web applications till now. Okay. You know that what is a two-tier architecture. You are in the like final year of engineering, so I assume that you should know all these things. So we started with the single layer architecture. We started with the when the computer was invented and people started writing applications. Initially, we developed the applications which are one-tier architecture. So everything is on the same machine. Your database is on the same machine and your program is on the same machine. Okay, then with the help of computer networking, we started dividing. Some part of your program may reside on one machine and some part of your program can reside on the some other machine. Okay, so after one tier architecture, people started working with the two tier architecture. In two tier architecture, you may have a dedicated server. On the dedicated server you keep your database, and you have your client machine, and through the client machine you communicate with the database server. That is two tier architecture. So client is a thin client, it can be a thin client, thick client, or a moderate client, and your program is residing on the client who is asking for the data from the database server and database server is sending the data to your program. The data is arriving in the form of a data structure in your program. So if you are having an array, or if you are having any other data structure, your data is brought into that array. Or if you are using the classes and objects, then you may have an employee object, and you make a request from the employee table, and you retrieve the employee record, and it is available in the form of an array of objects in your application. So means that you are asking for the data from the data server, and data is traveled and it is coming to your machine. Okay, so that is a two-tier architecture. In three-tier architecture, you have a client, you have an application server, and you have a database server. In the application server, your business logic is residing. At the client, only GUI may reside, through which we can interact with the application. And then your application server is talking to the database server. And we assume that with RDBMS, your database is residing on a single machine at the server, database server. So RDBMS was invented without the thought of distributed architecture or distributed systems. Always they thought about a single machine where the data is residing. But now slowly we came to know that because of the complexity and lots of requirements, now we want to distribute, we want to work with the distributed systems. Okay, we don't so we want to have a peer-to-peer kind of architecture, and we want to have distributed systems where your program is distributed and data is distributed. Okay, so with RDBMS, people tried with multiple techniques of distributed databases. With distributed databases, you can distribute your data in horizontally or vertically. Horizontally means some records of your table may reside at one location or at one server, and some records may reside at different location. For example, suppose I take the example of a location, and location is Mumbai. So all the records with respect to Mumbai location will reside on the database server, which is located in Mumbai. And my company has another branch in Bangalore, and Bangalore, so I have a company, one database server is residing in Mumbai, one database server is residing in Bangalore. So I can distribute my database in such a way that, suppose I have an employee table, all the employees residing at Mumbai records will reside in the Mumbai database server, and all the employees jinka location is Bangalore, all that records will reside on the Bangalore database server, and both the database servers are connected to each other. So suppose a Mumbai employee के लिए कुछ access करना है database, so it is nearby location for the program to access the data. But as both the database servers are connected to each other, I can access the records of Bangalore employee also, but that may take time. Okay, are you understanding? We are trying to, like, RDBMS got invented. Initially, we used only one server, and now the one server is not sufficient because the size of the data is getting increased. So we can have a distributed database of RDBMS. In distributed database of RDBMS, we can distribute the data in terms of horizontal distribution. Horizontal distribution means entire record. Some records residing on some machine, some records are residing on some machine, different machine, and you categorize the distribution, like on the basis of location you distribute them. Okay, so you have a criteria, and depending on the criteria, some like 100 records are residing on one database server, next 100 on next database server. Like this we distribute the data. Okay, but it is also having some issues. But this is the way that they tried, because we there is a need of distributed architecture. Everything is in the distributed format. World Wide Web is an application, a very good application, is an example of a distributed application. World Wide Web, WWW, is an application running in the application layer of TCP/IP model. Okay, that we all of us know. TCP/IP model मतलब internet model. Internet model का application layer में, that is the top layer. World Wide Web is an application running and at the application layer of TCP/IP model. It is a very good example of a distributed application. And we can call World Wide Web is a interconnected, we can define it as a huge collection of interconnected hypertext document. World Wide Web is a huge collection of interconnected hypertext documents. Okay, so similar to World Wide Web, in real world also, whenever we do the applications nowadays, there is a need of having a distributed applications. So they tried with the existing RDBMS to distribute it in the horizontal fashion. Or vertical fashion means if your table is having 5 columns, all the records of first 3 columns may reside on one database server, and all the columns of next to all the columns or next 2 columns of the database, all the rows will reside in the another server. Okay. So like so that is the way of distributing your database in a vertical fashion. Vertical fashion means if you are having 5 columns, 3 columns will reside at one location and 2 columns will reside at another location, and one location will have all the records, even the other location will have all the records, but only for 2 columns, and here only for 3 columns. That is the vertical scale distribution of the database, but it is not working. Why it is not working? Because there are many problems. In RDBMS, we use the joins. All the tables are connected to each other with foreign key constraints. We do the normalization techniques. So normalization, we assume that it is very good, but it is very good for transactions only. It is very good for transactions and normalized data. This the normalizations has its own disadvantages also. That we are understanding when we are seeing that our data is huge, and with the normalization we are having small different tables and they are connected to each other with multiple joins, and even the indexing is used. Because of the indexing, the database ka query, whenever you fire the query on the database, it becomes very slow because of the indexing if the size of the data is in petabytes or terabytes. Okay, so whenever RDBMS is used and when we want to achieve the scalability, means because the size is increased, we want to increase the capacity of the machine. Then it is a vertical scaling, and vertical scaling doesn't work properly. And RDBMS is also having a predictable and structured data. So the schema is not flexible. The number of columns are fixed. Okay, so even Uh, even in case of RDBMS, we use object relational model, where your table will for every table we have a class in our application, and the data is brought into the in the form of an object in the program, and you need to have that much memory to store the big data. Okay, so normalization joins are used. So to summarize this, RDBMS may we tried with the horizontal scale. We tried to distribute the data in a horizontal manner or vertical manner and keep it in 2 different database servers instead of a single server. But actually, RDBMS is designed with the thinking of keeping everything on a single machine. uh, it is very good for the transaction because it supports ACID properties. Our transactions are atomic, consistent, isolated, and durable. Means either the transaction is fully done or it is rollback, or after the transaction, database is in the consistent state. One transaction does not affect the another transaction. After the transactions, modifications are durable and they are stored in a permanent fashion onto the server. But it is having a structured schema. There is no flexibility in the schema. All the rows will have all the columns. Even if there is a null value, memory is allocated and vestige of memory is there. When we access a row, all the columns are retrieved. When all the columns are retrieved means, because RDBMS is designed in such a way that the entire record, entire row is stored on a single block of the disk. It is stored onto the hard disk. So hard disk, it is stored in such a way that everything is stored together. All the columns of the same row are stored together. So when we fire the query, we get the entire row. But if we are interested in 2 columns, the filtering is happening and we only 2 columns are visible to us, but actually it is retrieving the entire column. It is designed in such a way. Plus indexing is there. Because of the indexing, if the size of the data is in the form of petabytes or terabytes, we are not able to access it very fast. It takes lots of time. And whenever because of the normalization, so many joins and joins are there, and tables are interconnected to each other. When we fire the query is with the outer join kind of query, a nested query, or a complicated query which takes a lots of time. And plus bringing data into the object, and keeping having it into the memory. It is taking lots of time. Okay, so this was about RDBMS. Now, when RDBMS was there, okay, I'm just talking about the history. RDBMS was there in place. Now, people started working with the distributed architecture. Like in case of until now, in the second year, you have done the programs of Java, standalone applications of Java, or you have done client server architecture, single server pe database set. Database is in the Oracle or MySQL, and you are writing a Java program and accessing that data in your Java program. Such programs you have done till second year, okay, second year, third year. But in the distributed system, now in the final year, you have a subject distributed systems. I think it is in the next semester. In the distributed system, you will learn that real world may we write distributed applications by using Java. Ka initial technique was RMI. RMI is a remote method invocation. In remote method invocation, what we do is that we keep a function on on the remote machine or a separate machine. Our main program is running on one machine. Okay, so one of the some of the objects are running on the on one machine. Okay, so suppose I have a machine and my main program is running on this particular machine, and my method is running on some other machine. So my main program can call or invoke the method. So what main program will do, it will send the parameters to the method. The function is executed here, and the results are transferred, and results are visible to the main program. Okay, so we can distribute the program. Some of the objects are residing on one machine, some of the objects are residing on the other machine in object oriented programming, and the objects are interacting with each other. Otherwise, in the second year, what you did, all the objects were running on the same machine. But now what we can perform is that we can have some objects on one machine, some objects on other machine. And it is the example of a distributed application, that is remote method invocation using Java. There are many techniques to write distributed applications. So example is, one of the example that I'm talking is about remote method invocation of Java, where your method is residing on one machine, but your main program on the other machine, and you call the function of on the other machine. So initial technique was RPC, remote procedure call. Extension to that with the object oriented programming scenario is RMI. So there was a need of having distributed architecture or distributed applications. With distributed applications, if you're designing any distributed application, it is compulsory for you that it should be scalable. Your system should be scalable, it should be reliable, it should give you the correct results, it should be available for online 24 by 7. It should provide you all kind of transparency, it should give you the results very fast, because so many computers are there in distributed application and all are interacting with each other. Your application is also distributed. Some portion is running on one machine, some portion is running on other machine, some portion on the other machine, because we are having enterprises are having multiple departments and multiple locations they are running, and they are even having different kinds of architectures. Mumbai department may be running on Java platform, and Bangalore department may be running on .NET platform. In Mumbai application, because here we want to achieve the enterprise application integration. in I'm having an enterprise means a big organization which is having suppliers, customers, multiple departments, and everyone is having their applications and components running. And why should I write a new application whenever there is a need? So what I want is that I want to integrate multiple components of my existing organization. One department is having .NET component, other department is having Java component, and if I combine them together, I can achieve the requirement, runtime requirement of any new customer's requirement. So one component is already there in .NET, one component is already in Java, and I want to have a communication between them with these two components or two objects. So it is called as enterprise application integration. We want to integrate the existing modules with each other, and it is the example of a distributed system, because my applications are distributed. Some portions are running in .NET, some other location, or some in Java, some other location. Okay, so people now wanted to execute distributed applications, and if it is a distributed application, it should be reliable, it should give you the correct results, it should be scalable, it should share the resources, flexibility should be there, it should be high speed, open system, and performance should be high and should be available 24 by 7. So this was the requirement. Okay, so what we have discussed till now, that we have RDBMS, RDBMS was invented with respect to a single machine, and now there is a need of distributed applications. And with RDBMS, people try to distribute the data, but because of RDBMS ka joins, indexes, normalizations, object relational mapping, it is not working as efficient as the requirements of distributed systems, such as flexibility, scalability, availability, fault tolerance. It's not happening. Okay, but RDBMS ka advantage hai, RDBMS will never get vanished, because it will be there for important transactions. Still, people are using RDBMS. So whenever I suppose we are interacting with Amazon ka website, whenever I'm performing a very important task of doing the payment, that time that last transaction whenever that transaction is happening, when I'm doing the payment or a very important operation, that time, because I need ACID properties, that time RDBMS is still used. See, with NoSQL also they are trying to have compliance with and to make it perform like a ACID, but their intention, or they are not basically developed for supporting ACID. But RDBMS is designed in such a way that it is going to give you ACID. Okay, so whenever see, Amazon is a very hit website. At a time on Amazon, many millions of users are accessing the Amazon website at a time, but they are browsing the site. But the transactions, when they click and do the exact transaction, that is not happen that is limited compared to the millions of users accessing the website at the same time, because it is going to, suppose I'm spending 10 minutes of time on Amazon website, out of 10 minutes my 1 or 2 minutes are there only for the transaction. So for that 1 or 2 minutes of time, RDBMSs are used, and for other amount of time, whenever I'm accessing Amazon website, they are using Amazon DynamoDB, that is a key value data store, where everything is stored in the form of a key and value. So anything you want to access, it is accessed through a key ID. So like my session data for Amazon, session ID and the ID, and whatever I do with respect to my session, everything is stored in the uh, Amazon DynamoDB. Or my shopping cart ka data is stored in Amazon DynamoDB, where product ID and the name of the product, or product ID and the quantity, or product ID and the price is stored in the form of key value pairs in Amazon DynamoDB. Okay, and when I do exact the transaction, that time RDBMS is used. So RDBMS is also there, but they are using both of the things together nowadays. They are using both. This shows the exact difference between RDBMS and NoSQL. This is relational. This is not only SQL, but other than that, there are four types. There is no declarative query language as SQL, but there are some other languages such as CQL is there for graph data stores. Cipher query language is therefore graph data stores. Graph data store is little different than all three other data stores, because of its a different way of execution. Okay, there is no predefined schema for NoSQL. Here, predefined schema is there. Here, everything is in the form of a flexible schema. Every row can have any number of columns. Okay, there is no fixed column numbers in NoSQL. Okay, and it is not following ACID property, but it is following CAP theorem. What is CAP theorem? CAP theorem says that, and basis means that basically available soft state eventual consistency. Okay, base, it follows the base theorem. Base theorem means that basically available soft state eventual consistency. So here they don't guarantee about the tight consistency, where here always the data is in the consistent fashion, even if it is replicated. But here it is the eventual consistency. Eventually, after some time, data will be in the consistent state. That's what they say. And but it is available, and it follows CAP theorem means that either for people have invented that consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. Out of these three parameters, any distributed system can guarantee only two of them. Either it is consistent and available, or available and partition tolerance, or consistent and partition tolerance. So NoSQL will follow any two. That's what they are saying. Okay. And then we have seen that NoSQL may we use a horizontal scaling because vertical scaling is not at all suitable. We can say NoSQL come in main advantage is that it is invented for non-distributed applications. It is a non-relational database management system for distributed architectures. It is a non-relational database management system for distributed architecture where our data is distributed by assuming the clusters where computers are connected to each other using a commodity hardware. And there is your table may don't need a fixed schema. Flexible schema is there, no join operations, and data is scalability is achieved horizontally. That is also called as a horizontal scaling. Means horizontal scaling के लिए the word used is scale out, and for vertical scaling the term that is used is scale up. Okay. So here scale out is used and terabytes and petabytes of data can be stored. Features are it is for unstructured next generation database, allows you to access the database using APIs. So you can write Java program, Ruby program, Scala program, or you can have MapReduce application, and you can access the data because the APIs are provided and commodity hardware is used. SQL kind of languages are used. SQL is not there, and horizontally scalable and open source. Open source are cheap. Anyone can use them. Okay. And so you can remember Facebook uses Cassandra, Google uses Bigtable, uh, then HBase is also used, Amazon uses DynamoDB, LinkedIn uses Voldemort. These are NoSQL. There are many 200, 300 NoSQL databases are there. Gap theorem के बारे में I have discussed. Here RDBMS is failed because of this four: volume, velocity, agility, and variability of big data, because of which RDBMS failed and cracked. So it was the need to invent different kinds of database management systems. With volume, what we tried with volume, if volume is increased, we try to scale up the system. If you scale up the system, we are using GPUs. But even if GPUs are used, the temperature is so high, it becomes so heated that CPU ka chip will get heated because of lots of volume and transactions, and then it may not withstand with the high volume. Okay, and it will not be anyway. Data is increasing with such a fast speed that whatever you increase the capacity of your CPU, it may not be able to handle the data. So vertical scaling था, and chip will be overheated, so hardware limitations है इसके लिए it's not possible. High velocity के लिए, if the data is coming with the high speed, with RDBMS, joins are there and indexes are there, so whenever we fire the query, it cannot give you the answers fast. And then variability के लिए, it cannot support different variety of data. Always the structure is fixed, so it can handle only structured data. It cannot handle semi-structured and unstructured data with the speed. And it is not agile because whenever you want to change your structure of your table, you will have to shut down the RDBMS system. So your application will not be available 24/7. Then you have to do the modifications in the table, alter table command, and then you will restart the machine. And that amount of time your system will be unavailable. Okay, and it is not agile, it is not flexible to accommodate runtime changes or runtime requirements of the customer. Okay, and if you do the changes, I'm saying the memory requirement will be too high and wastage of memory is there because of the sparse data. Some of the data elements are not available. In case of big data, there is no structure. Some of the columns are not there for some of the users. Some of the users, if you are, it is a customer data, some of the users you have 100 features, and some of the users you have only 5 features, and then the other remaining 95 features are not there for one of the customer. And then if it is RDBMS, then null value will be stored, and with null value memory is allocated and wastage of memory. So because of these four reasons, RDBMS failed, and we have to invent NoSQL. So people invented NoSQL. And NoSQL databases are used in each and every application, everywhere. Everyone needs for performing analytical queries. NoSQL databases are used. So recommendation, user profile, catalog management, 360 degree of customers view, internet, IoT में तो चाहिए ही, fraud detection, any you consider any application, it is there. Okay. And it is working fine because it is using shared nothing architecture. Okay. If it is a distributed application may either you use a shared memory and for the components, or you use the shared disk, and both the techniques are having their disadvantages. And here this NoSQL, it works with the uh, shared nothing architecture. Okay, so these were the applications that we have already discussed in detail. And now the sometimes I just want to tell you about uh, that this big data NoSQL architectures, they are working on shared nothing architecture. In between the components, nothing is shared. Data is divided into chunks, and the chunks are and this process is called as sharding. Okay, you partition your large database and create the chunks, and you distribute it and store it in a distributed fashion like HDFS, using HDFS. So that technique is called as sharding in terms of NoSQL databases. And for sharding, multiple techniques are used. Okay, and even the data is replicated and kept in multiple places. For replication of data and for distribution of data, either master slave kind of technique is used, or peer to peer technique is used. In case of master slave, is responsible for replicating data to all the slaves. So a single point of failure kind of will be there, so you need to have a backup master for that. Okay, and it keeps the authoritative copy, and it handles rights to all the slaves. Even HBase is using master slave kind of mechanism to replicate the data and to do the sharding. Sharding means dividing your data into chunks and store them in a distributed fashion on the different machines. Okay, so what they use for sharding is that they can use a hashing technique and create a key, and depending on the key, identify the server and store it. Okay, so we'll see in the next slide about sharding. Right now, this slide says about replication, how data is replicated. Uh, so either it can be master slave or peer to peer. In case of peer to peer, no one is master. All the nodes are in communication with each other. They coordinate with each other, and they know which part is residing on which location, and the data is replicated. Okay, so whenever any one node is failed, then the other nodes will come to know with because of some communication, and the data will be shifted, or some other machine who is having the another copy of the data will take over the chart, and load balancing is done. And here the peer-to-peer architecture is there because there is no master, and replication and distribution of data is handled using some other techniques. So here the NoSQL Cassandra is based on peer-to-peer architecture of distributing the data and replication of data, and HBase uses master slave. So these are the two examples of replication techniques. Now, what is the objective of today? This all thing was already explained or done in the previous lectures, but I've just created the background for those who have not attended the lectures to understand the today's topic. So today's topic is about what are the different ways this NoSQL handles big data problems. And in the exam, they ask the question like, explain what is NoSQL, compare NoSQL with RDBMS, what are the advantages and features of NoSQL, and explain the ways NoSQL handles big data problems. So it is a question for 5 marks. So that one particular technique is 1 mark in the exam. So this is a sub question. So these are the different ways through which NoSQL handles the big data problem. As per your textbook, this is taken from textbook. So it will manage the data better by moving queries to data. In case of RDBMS, your data is brought into the memory of where your program is residing. Okay, in RDBMS, your data is brought into the place where your program is residing, and program and data both are in the RAM of your machine, and then the program operates on the data. So data is traveling and coming to your location, but in case of big data, such a big data cannot be transferred from one location to another location with respect to the network issues. Okay. Okay, just a minute. So the first way, in case of RDBMS, what happens is that in case of RDBMS, your data is brought into the location where your program is residing, and the program is operating on the data. But in case of NoSQL, instead of bringing data to the location where the program is residing, your program is it's traveled to the location where the data is residing. Okay, and we have seen the examples. And the size of the program is always in kilobytes or a very small size. So it's better to travel or send the data. It is better to send the query or your program to the location where the data is residing. The another way is that consistent hashing data on the cluster. This is for distributing data. So for distribution of data, some consistent hashing kind of techniques are used. Then the third way is that it is using replications for read, which is suitable for read. And the fourth technique is letting the database distribute queries evenly to the data node. Even the queries are distributed evenly to different data nodes and querying large data sets. So these are the points. We will see what is meant by that. So NoSQL, how it manages by sending queries to the data. Okay, so here the queries are transferred to the network and they are executed on this. So here, in case of NoSQL databases, suppose you have the single CPU and if the size of the data is increased here, volume of the data is increased, then you can have two machines, then you may have three machines, and you go on adding multiple different machines which are of the same capacity. But in vertical scaling in RDBMS, you have a single CPU computer. Same computer ka you increase the capacity and you have two CPUs, or you increase the capacity on and you are having a single machine. This is vertical scaling. Vertical scaling doesn't work because your chip will not be able to support that much memory, because usko, depending on the 64-bit computer or 128-bit computer, it can address only 2 raised to 128 bits of information or like that. So it is, and even the chip is getting heated, so it is not able to work. So it is a horizontal scaling. And for horizontal scaling, the data is not transferred to the location where the program is residing. Program is distributed, and the multiple copies of program is running on different machines. And so the NoSQL databases may, if whenever you want to fire a query, it is a small program that is transferred to the location where the data is residing, and it is executing on that chunk of the data. And then the results are assembled again, and if their results are huge, they are also available in the form of a distributed file, or they can be combined together and they can be retrieved by the client. Okay, so you are sending your queries to the location where the data is residing, it is executed at the location where the data is residing, and the results are assembled together, and the results are available in the form of a flat file. That if the file is too big, it is distributed, or the single file can be sent back to the client. Okay, so NoSQL is doing like that. The queries are sent, executed, results are assembled back together. So this is also a very easy concept to remember and write. And shared nothing architecture is there because nothing is shared between the components. Then consistent hashing means that if it is a normal distributed system, we are not talking right now about NoSQL. If it is a distributed system, like if your database server, RDBMS ka server, if you want to distribute and want to have two different machines, then what we do is that normally the technique used is that suppose you are having n number of servers, suppose you are having three servers, and then suppose a particular value is to be stored, then we use a hashing technique like this, like value mod n kind of function that will give you the key, and that will be the number. All the servers are numbered. Like if there are three servers, the servers are numbered as 1, 2, 3. And then suppose you want to store the value, then you apply some function on the value mod n, that will give you a key that is in the range of 1 to 3. And then for that range of 1 to 3, that key will be stored on one of the machine. That particular value will be stored on that particular machine. So whenever you want to get or retrieve the value, you can again apply and identify the server and get the server. But what is the problem in this scenario? Because in case of cluster, there are thousands of servers, and there may be one server failed in a day. And if a server is failed, then you need to invalidate all the cache of the system. Then you have to renumber the servers, so you will have n minus 1 servers, and again you will have to recalculate everything and store. So it is not at all suitable. Okay, this kind of architecture is there for a normal distributed systems, where you have 3 servers, and suppose you want to store the value, you will get the key in between 1 to 3 by applying some function of hash, and then you store the value on that particular server. But if the server is failed, you will have n minus 1 servers. So what you have to do, you have to invalidate the cache, renumber the servers, and reallocate. So it is not working. So what they do in case of NoSQL, they do no load balancing properly, and they use the consistent hashing with the help of some technique. So whenever the server is added, the new server will get the work from the other servers. So other servers will distribute or will share their work with the new server. Or if the server is removed and if it is not working, then uska jo load hai, that load will be shared with the other servers, and load balancing is done. And what they do, they use the ring hash ring kind of techniques like this in the diagram. It is not studied in detail, or there are so many other techniques are also there, but this is just to give you an overview. Like they are doing consistent hashing with the techniques such as hash ring. So what is this technique is that we are not studying this technique in detail. That's what I want to tell you. We are just understanding what kind of things might be happening in such kind of architectures. Like here, for such system, you may have two machines, A and B, and A was handling the task IJK, and B was handling the task L and M. Okay. Now, if there is addition of new server C, then the system will identify what are the objects which are near to C. So it may find out that, or it may work in the clockwise direction. So that's why here the arrow is there. So it is working in the clockwise direction. So it will means it will assign I and J to C. Okay, if the new server is added. So A will handle K, L and M will be handled by B because it is in the clockwise direction, and I and J will be handled by C depending on the location of C. Okay, so like this, a hash ring kind of technique is used where clockwise direction is considered locations or with some parameters. Some of the so initially A was handling the load of IJK, but now it is with the addition of new server, A is can handle only K, and IJ work is allocated to C. Such kind of techniques are used by NoSQL systems. Then the third way is about replication. So for replication, there is a master and slave architecture is used. This everything, all the slides are prepared from your textbook. These are not ready-made slides. So what they are discussing is that you have a replication master, like a master server, which even the backup is there for this master server. So if it is failed, then backup will take over, and the write is done by this particular server. So what it will do for replicating the data, it will store that change or the replication information into the log called as a binary log. And these are the slaves, and the slaves also have some kind of log called as relay log. And this master and slaves are in communication with each other. So slowly all the slaves will receive this change data, that is binary log, into the relay log. Okay, because the change might be big, so it cannot happen immediately. So the change is indicated in the binary log at this master replication master, and all the slaves, they have the relay log, and all the slaves will retrieve this binary log, and it is available at the slave side in the form of a relay log. and then the slaves will copy slowly as per their time into that they got the changed information, and so they will change the database accordingly, and slowly after some time all the data will be in the consistent state. So that's why NoSQL they says that it is a eventual consistency. Whenever there is any change happening at a particular state, at a particular location, immediately all the locations will not receive the consistent data. Consistency will be there, but it is not a tight consistency. Slowly after some time you will see all the data in the consistent manner. So what is happening here is that the changed information is brought from binary log to the relay log at the slave, and slave, depending on its work and its load and its time and CPU's availability, it will slowly apply all these changes to its own data, and then finally slowly after some time all the data will be in the consistent state. So here for writing it is happening, but it is good for this such kind of replication is good for scale reads, because it improves the read performance, and it is using scale out operations. It works in the environment where high number of reads are there. It is suitable for reading articles on the website or to view the products. Where there are low number of writes, such kind of techniques are okay. Okay. So it is asynchronous replication that will introduce a lag between read and write. Some amount of time there will be some inconsistent and missing data will be there. That is the issue here. But we are okay with that because we most of the time we want to read the data only. Okay, then the fourth way is about letting the database distribute queries evenly to the data nodes. Queries are also distributed evenly, means the workload is distributed evenly to the data nodes. Because we are moving query to the database, shared nothing architecture, all the nodes are treated as peers. Data is distributed by using some random hash function, and that distribution of data is called as a sharding, and the sharding is done, or the distribution of this work is done in a manual mode or auto mode. In case of manual mode, the administrator will do the load balancing. Whenever there is any server is down or a server is added, then manually the work is distributed by the administrator by writing something at the administrative location. Or auto mode may it will be automatically done by the system by interacting with each other. Okay, so this is always a better method of auto mode, because so many in clusters so many machines are getting failed, and if it is a manual task it will be a tedious job. So auto mode is the best mode where data is automatically hashed to for the even distribution of the cluster. Algorithm is used to route the request to a particular node whenever that particular data is to be accessed. So it is a better mechanism of auto mode, and even the failure will come to know. All the nodes are communicating with each other, and they come to know about the failure, or they come to know about the addition of the new server because of their interactions happening with each other as a peer-to-peer kind of architecture. And everything will be done automatically to balance the load as well as balance the data or distribute the data. Okay, so this particular point is talking about distributing everything evenly on all the data nodes, and load balancing techniques are used, but there are two modes, manual mode and auto mode. Manual mode my administrator will balance the load, but in auto mode everything will happen automatically. That's what they are trying to say. That is the fifth way. Fourth way, fifth way is about querying large data sets. If it is a big data set, and if you are having the tables like employee table and department table, then in case of RDBMS internally creates, because of the foreign key and primary key constants, this department number will be the foreign key for the employee table. So the tables internally they are joined with each other with the foreign key constants. So the architecture, RDBMS architecture will make it slow. Okay, but here there are no joins at the architecture level. While you store the data, that information is not stored, but the records are accessed through navigation only. Okay, but relation is there in the form of, suppose this is your MongoDB or JSON file where everything is in the form of key value. So how it will be there, like even if you are having two different documents, employee document and a department document. So employee uh, This is a collection of employee document. Okay, this is the employee table of RDBMS. In MongoDB, in MongoDB, it will be collection of employee records. So it is a collection of employee documents. So one employee, one document, and it is a collection of multiple documents. So one document indicates one row of your RDBMS. So it is stored in this way, that collection of employees is there and collection of departments is there. And now suppose you want to have such kind of information uh, through join query, like you want to know the department name for Alia. So what will happen is that this is done with the navigation. So first this document is navigated with 20, the another document is navigated. So it employee record is accessed through employee number, then it navigates to find the department using department ID. So it will do the navigation, and through navigation it will access the another department, and you may get the answer like a JSON, in the JSON format, such as all the key values stored in a document or in the JSON format. You may get the answers. So it does it is not internally at the architecture point of view or for storing data. It is not storing any join information, but such kind of operation is done by navigation to multiple documents in case of this file. So finally, everything is stored in the form of a flat file in case of big data. So this is the fifth one. Okay. So as the time is over, we will have only 2 minutes to 2 or 3 minutes to see the comparison. We have taken one like dedicated lecture for every data store, document store, column store, key value, and graph store. These are document store: MongoDB, CouchDB, uh, then eBay, Google, Ubuntu. They are using this. CouchDB is used by eBay, I think. Then Amazon DynamoDB, Faceka, Cassandra is there. Google ka big table is a column oriented. Key value is DynamoDB. Redis is also GitHub is also using Redis. Okay. Then Neo4j and FlockDB. Or Twitter is using graph kind of database. Even WhatsApp, Facebook, they are using graph oriented databases. So here integrity is basically it follows Bayes theorem, and ACID compliance is there most of the cases. Indexing, secondary indexing, uh, primary keys are there. Everything is accessed in the form of a key and value. So keys are there. For distribution, master slave replication is used in most of the all the NoSQL databases. MongoDB is invented by using it is written in C++ language. Then DynamoDB is written in Java. Redis is written in C++, and Neo4j is here they are saying ER-Lang, but it is also mentioned that is developed by using Java. Okay, so this completes everything about NoSQL chapter, and I've gone into much depth for this particular chapter because you have to start working on your mini projects. Okay, so from the next week, I feel that we will be having one lecture in a week where we will discuss with the groups about their topic. Okay. So let's stop for the today. I'm stopping the recording.